The light said, Andy, remember, everything on the planet is an illusion. It isn't real. Reality is in the light. When you're on Earth, it's like being in a Broadway play, and there are 8 billion actors, and everybody's doing their part, but that's not reality.
My name is Andy Petro. I'm probably one of the oldest people here. In fact, I'm going to be 84 sometime next week. I don't think of that date anymore because that doesn't mean much to me. But anyway, let me go back to the story. It was a few days before graduation from high school. We went as a class to a lake outside of Detroit. I'm swimming out to the raft to where my friends are. There's a floating platform out there. And about halfway there, I get really bad cramps and I can't kick anymore. And then I'm starting to drown. I go down one time. I'm struggling to get up to the top. I reach to the top. I look over. I can see my friends on the platform. I'm waving to them, but I can't stay above the water. They're waving back, thinking I'm playing a game. And then I'm sinking down. From that point on, I never came to the surface again. As I'm going down deeper and deeper into the lake, it's getting really very, very cold. This is June. And lakes in Michigan in June don't know about summer. It's still really very cold. And I'm shivering and shaking, and I'm falling deeper and deeper. And all of a sudden I can feel the weeds at my feet as they're going deeper. And now I can't see anymore. I don't know if it's because my eyes shut off or because it was really that dark. And then finally I hit the bottom of the lake, and I hit in a sitting position. And I'm sitting there, and I say, oh, this is great. Now I can just use my hands to push me up. And as I'm pushing down, my hands now get stuck in the mud. And now I'm there in terrible pain, frightened to death. And then I hear this voice. Someone's talking to me in my head. And the voice says, Andy, you have to relax and let go for just a minute. And I said, no, I can't. I need one breath of air. That's all I need. And then the voice says to me, no, Andy, you have to relax. You have to stop. You have to let go. And then I said to the voice in my head, okay, I'll let go, but do you promise to let me continue to fight? And the light says, yes, okay, we promise. And then I let go. And the minute I formed the word go in my head, I popped out of my body, frozen, cold, shivering, shaking. And in a minute, what I call a moment of no time, I'm now in a tunnel. And I'm looking around, and I'm not cold, I'm not freezing. I can breathe. I'm in a body, but I don't recognize the body. And I look around, and I see down as I'm looking over to the left, I can see down at the bottom of the lake, there's my body. And I say, well, that's strange because I couldn't see down there, but I see it. And then I look away, and I was not concerned. And I turn in the other direction, and I see the tunnel, and at the end of the light of the tunnel is a bright light. And as I look at the light, it's so bright, I say to myself, yeah, this thing should be burning my retinas. This is the brightest thing I could ever imagine. It's like 1,000 suns all exploding at the same time. And then I'm pulled into the tunnel, like by a gentle magnet. And I'm pulled into the tunnel. And as I'm moving into the tunnel, I can feel a breeze on my face. And then at the next moment of no time, I'm now in a giant sphere, in a ball, the size of a basketball coliseum. And I'm hovering in the center of the ball, and next to me, I can't see it, but I know it's there, is the light. And the light and I are talking, not with my mouth, because I don't have a mouth anymore. I don't have eyes, I don't have ears, but I have things that allow me to communicate and to see and to hear. And as I look on the inside of the giant sphere, are countless, maybe thousands, hundreds of thousands of like little TV sets or movie screens. And each one has a specific action that I had taken in one of my many lives. And as I looked at one, as soon as I would focus on one, I would immediately, almost magically, be there. And now I was repeating what I was watching, but I was there. The difference is every time I relived one of my life experiences, I relived it in such a fashion that I knew and understood what everyone was thinking and how they were feeling about our interaction. And then all of a sudden, again, in a moment of no time, I pop out of the sphere, and I'm in the tunnel now, and I'm getting very close to the light. And the light is in front of me now, and it's like a giant silhouette. like a target in a rifle range, and I was in a Marine, so I understand what that target looks like, and it was kind of like that. There was no gender to it. It was just a light, but it was very loving and warm, and it was pulling me. And as I got close to the light said three things that I could understand, and he said it in English because I could only understand English in my body at that time. And the light said to me, "Andy, don't be afraid. Andy, I love you. And Andy, we love you." And when the light said, "Andy, we love you," in back of the light, there were billions of other lights, just like me. Holographic pieces of the light. And they all said in one big chorus, "Andy, welcome home." And I can tell you, that is the best I've ever felt as I was in existence. It was so wonderful to behold. And at that point, when the billions of other pieces of the light said, "Andy, welcome home," I was absorbed into the light. I didn't go into the light. I was absorbed into the light. And it was like if the light was a large glass of water, and if Andy was a teaspoon of sugar, and you put the sugar in the water and spin it around, and then look at it, where's Andy? Everywhere. Where's the light? Everywhere. I became the light. I was not greater than the light. I was not lesser than the light. I was a holographic piece of the light. And I was ecstatic. My whole body right now as I am speaking is filled with chills. I remember it as if it just happened 10 seconds ago, not 65 years ago. That feeling has never left me. And it has been the thing that has kept me going when I really felt that I didn't belong coming back. But that'll come up in a second. So then the light says, "Andy, let's go. Do you have any questions for me?" And my answer was, "No, I don't have any questions." Why? Because when I was absorbed by the light, I knew everything the light knew. I knew everything. Yeah, come on. No, I did. I knew everything about everything when I was in the light. And we went around and traveled through universes. It seemed like I was there for maybe years. In Earth time, I was there for about 10 minutes because it took 10 or 15 minutes for somebody to find my body and bring me back up on shore. I didn't know any of that was going on because I wasn't there. The body was there, but I wasn't home. I was in the light. And I'm having so much fun in the light. It's funny, and we were talking and laughing, and we were talking about when we were viewing my life in the sphere of the now. When we were viewing my life, we were laughing at, "Andy, you spent so much of your time on all these planets being too serious. Life is to be enjoyed. That's why you've come to the various planets to experience what you can experience in the light, because in the light there are no highs and lows. There are no fat and thin. There is no light and day. It's all unconditional love that consumes you and absorbs you, and that is the pinnacle of what it feels like to be an entity." So then, after that point in time, the light says to me, "Andy, it's time to go back. It's time to go back." No. I said, no, I'm not going back. I'm sorry. No, the answer is no. And the light says for the second time, "Andy, you're going back." And I said, "Excuse me, did you hear what I said? I'm staying here. I'm home. Why would I ever want to go back?" And the third time the light said to me, "Andy, you're going back." When I heard the K in back, I was stuffed back into my body, which now was no longer in the mud at the bottom of the lake, but was laying on the sand of the beach. And during that entire process, from the moment I drowned until the moment I was stuffed back into my body, I never lost 1 second of consciousness. I have no voids, no dark spots. No, I can't remember. I remember everything, every moment, every second of that time. And now I'm in my body, and I start to cry. And all my classmates are around me. They're so glad that I'm alive. I'm not that happy about it, but they're so glad that I didn't die on senior picnic day. And so I look around and I say, why are you crying, Annie? It must be pain. Yeah, it must be pain. So I said, "Well, tell me what happened. What do you remember?" And I said my first great lie. I don't remember a damn thing. It's a complete blank because I couldn't tell them about the light. I didn't even know what it was. How am I going to explain that? I was born brought up as a Catholic. I went to confession every week. I was a very, very religious in capital letters person. And when I went to light, what I saw and experienced in the light did not correlate or relate at all to what I knew and what I was taught on earth. So, okay, that's it. I'm going. So I thought to myself, well, okay, I know what will happen. I know that eventually I'll forget about this. So I started a journey to forget, and I couldn't forget. I dream about it every night. I could talk. I was feeling like the phrase was, I felt like a stranger in a strange land. I didn't belong here. I belong in the light. That's what I can remember. That's where I want to go. That's where I want to be. Well, it's been over 65 years, and I'm still here. What are you waiting for, Andy? I'm sorry. But that is with me. That experience is with me 24/7, all the time. Now, I spent those 25 years searching. I searched all the major religions. I did meditations. I did all types of yoga. I did everything I could to try to see if I could understand this. It wasn't until I read Dr. Moody's book that I said, that's what I had. Took me almost 30 years to figure out I had a near-death experience, but I had it so early in time, the phrase didn't even exist until I read it in the book. And so at that point in time, I'm saying, okay, now I know what it is. It still took me 10 or 15 years before I spoke about it first time. I never told anyone for almost 40 years. And then I started talking about it. I found IONS, I joined IONS, I started doing TV shows, radio shows. But the point is, what's the point, Andy? The point is that was such a wonderful, blissful thing. And the things that I remember from the light telling me, the light said, Andy, remember, everything on the planet is an illusion. It isn't real. Reality is in the light. When you're on earth, it's like being in a Broadway play and there are 8 billion actors and everybody's doing their part, but that's not reality. Reality only exists in the light. And so, as a stranger in a strange land, I'm saying that has really been the most significant thing I could have ever experienced. Of earth dying, because there is no death, earth dying, going into the light and coming back, and even through all the years of trial and struggle and trying to understand, in the back of my mind, in the back of my memory, in the back of forever, will be my near-death experience, which is really maybe who I am.
The evidence thus far suggests that in the first few minutes after death, consciousness is not annihilated. Whether it fades away afterwards, we do not know, but right after death, consciousness is not lost.
Have you ever wondered what happens after we die? Is it the end, or is there something more? Imagine death as a change in our awareness, like moving to a different place beyond what we can understand in our everyday lives. It's like stepping into a new dimension that's hard to describe with our regular words. This journey of transformation touches us all, including the tender souls of children who leave us too soon. What unfolds for them in this mysterious realm? And how does their departure shape our understanding of life's ultimate mystery?
I realized that I could even see my physical body. I had that whole white light thing.
Death is a transformation of consciousness from this physical domain, which is by and large illusory, to another dimension of existence that is apparently so far beyond what we experience here in the physical realm that we can't even describe it in earthly terms.
Picture a big mystery like standing on the edge of the unknown. Some people have actually been to this edge, touched it, and returned with incredible stories. Their tales share a common theme, a journey through a bright gateway. It's like they've taken a trip challenging what we think about life and death, giving us a peek into a reality that goes way beyond what we usually understand. These stories invite us to explore something extraordinary on the other side of what we typically see.
I was completely in this coma, but I was aware of everything that was going on around me. I could hear and see and feel everything that was happening. I could feel everything the doctors were doing. They were poking needles into me and putting in IV tubes and things like that. And I could see and hear things that were beyond the room that my physical body was in.
Almost all people that have had a glimpse beyond the veil of death and have had some encounter with what we as Latter-day Saints would call the spirit world, or as Emanuel Swedenborg would call heaven, but almost all of them speak of the overpowering, overwhelming, all-encompassing, all-consuming sense of love.
I also felt something which I can only describe as a feeling of unconditional love.
Loving and gentle and okay, nothing to be afraid of.
Picture this. You're on the operating table, completely unconscious during surgery. It seems you're in a deep sleep, almost like being temporarily gone. Common belief suggests that when you're unconscious, it's like being in a state of deep sleep, or even similar to being temporarily dead. No hearing, no seeing, no feeling. However, here's the mind-bending part. Some people claim to know what's happening around them, even in that unconscious state. How is that possible? It's like being asleep and yet somehow aware of everything. Let's unravel this mystery of consciousness in the operating theater and explore how, in a state that seems so close to being asleep, some individuals still retain a curious awareness of their surroundings, challenging our understanding of what it means to be unconscious.
The moment your heart stops beating, of course, immediately blood stops flowing to the brain. 10 to 20 seconds after that event, the EEG or electroencephalogram, which is a measure of brain electrical activity, goes absolutely flat. There is no measurable brain electrical activity. It should be impossible to have any kind of conscious memory at that point in time, and yet, literally by the thousands, people have reported near-death experiences under those circumstances.
We simply couldn't get him off the heart-lung machine. Finally, we just had to give up, announced in bed. It had been at least 20 minutes that this man recorded no heartbeat, no blood pressure. He recovered.
People on the boundary of death, very often declared dead and then pulled back, they describe experiences. We've been able to classify them. They have a structure to them very often. They appear to happen at a point in time when it at least appears scientifically that the brain is not functioning.
And he talked about the bright light at the end of the tunnel. The thing that astounded me was that he described that operating room floating around and saying, I saw you and Dr. Catania standing in the doorway with your arms folded talking. And I saw all of these Post-its sitting on this TV screen. And what those were any call I got, the nurse would write down who called and the phone number and stick it on that. He described that. I mean, there's no way he could have described that before the operation because they didn't have any call.
He must have been floating.
He was up there.
Yeah.
He described the scene, things that there is no way he knew.
Grief is an overwhelming, gut-wrenching sorrow that settles in our hearts when we lose someone dear. Yet, when it's the loss of a child, it transforms into an indescribable ache, a pain that feels like our very souls are being torn apart. Losing a child is an unbearable departure from the natural order of life, like a heartstring pulled too soon. The grief of losing a child is piercing and heartrending. It defies the expected flow of life, leaving parents in a state of profound agony. The question echoes in the silent chambers of their pain. Why are these innocent souls taken away so prematurely? It's an inquiry that resonates with the anguish of parents who, in the darkness of their sorrow, search for answers that might never come. In this heart-wrenching reality, we grapple with the unfairness of a world that disrupts the expected order of life. Losing a child challenges the very fabric of our understanding, leaving a trail of emotional devastation in its wake. The pain is not just a wound. It's a raw, emotional earthquake that shakes the foundation of a parent's heart, leaving them to navigate a world forever altered by the absence of their precious one. Amid this heartbreak, the haunting question arises: could this profound sorrow be woven into a grander plan that eludes our understanding?
Children who die a sub-adult, whether it's even in utero, a miscarriage, or children who die before they're in their early 20s, they tell us are always very advanced beings. These beings don't really need to come back for a whole lifetime, and it's a lot of trouble to go through a brief lifetime, which is a gift they give to us, but they come specifically so that they're able to give that gift. It's a very important spiritual lesson to lose a child. And so as much as when I say this is a gift, you're going to go, oh my God, that couldn't possibly be a gift, especially if you've lost a child. These are always gifts. Your child was a very advanced being and still is, didn't need that experience. And so what your child has done is to give you the great gift of loving and losing so that you can grow spiritually.
Grief, with its deep, gut-wrenching sorrow, often leads us to yearn for a connection beyond the tangible, especially when we face the profound loss of a loved one. In the midst of this heartache, there's a flicker of solace, the promise of reunion with those we cherish. The pain of losing someone we love is like a storm that rages through our hearts, leaving us in a sea of emotions. Yet amid the tempest, there's a whisper of hope, the belief that beyond the veil of mortality, a reunion awaits. This promise of union becomes a lifeline for the grieving, a shimmering light on the horizon. In the quest for understanding and healing, we grasp onto the notion that the connection with our departed loved ones transcends the physical realm. It's a promise that suggests our bonds are not severed by death, but transformed into a spiritual connection, an ethereal thread that ties us to those we hold dear. This promise of union becomes a guiding star in the darkness of grief, offering the comfort that, although separated by the tangible, the love and connection endure beyond the limits of our earthly understanding. It's a testament to the enduring power of love, whispering that in the vastness of eternity, the bonds we share with our loved ones are not lost, but merely waiting to be rediscovered.
Often they become our spirit guides, or they otherwise help us during our lives. And when we arrive, they're there and they welcome us.
I'd grown up thinking life's a test and I'm going to be judged, and I'm holding my little boy who died because I wrecked the car. I cut his life short because I lost control or dozed off, and suddenly there felt like there was physical arms that wrapped around and just held us. And then there was this download, this overwhelming communication. And I was told there's nothing to forgive.
There is something much more. There is something bigger, more powerful, more universal, more connected than what we have discovered with science to date.
Death is a state that we can have in life because death taught me how to live. And I feel sad that people only find this out at the end of their life, and this is why I share my story.
The powerfully positive message of near-death experience, even conceivable for all of humanity, that there is an afterlife and a wonderful afterlife for all of us, is based on a mountain of evidence. Skeptics haven't even begun to explain anything we see in near-death experiences.
The concept of death remains a mystery. Is it an illusion? Near-death experiences challenge our conventional understanding of it, making us wonder if it's an illusion. These experiences suggest that death might not be the end, but a transition, opening the door to a broader comprehension of existence. However, grief remains an intense and heart-wrenching undertone amidst these reflections. The hope of reuniting with our departed loved ones adds a hopeful note, emphasizing enduring connections and eternal love. Therefore, as we face life's inevitable conclusion, we find a resolute answer: the potential that death is not an end, but a metamorphosis.